Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to another video on the Submitter's Perspective channel. In this video, I will speak about Ulul Amr, those in charge among the believers. The reason I chose this subject is because it's widely believed that the word Ulul Amr refers to the scholars. And since the Quran speaks about obedience to Ulul Amr, it is often argued that the believers or Muslims are obligated to obey the scholars. So in this video we will examine the verses that are often quoted by the proponents of this idea and try to find out if this idea has any basis in the Quran. So we see the word Ulil Amri Minkum in Surah 4 verse 59. This is Surah Nisa verse 59. The verse reads, يا أيها الذين آمنوا أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم فإن تنازعتم في شيء فردوه إلى الله ورسول إن كنتم تؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر ذلك خير وأحسن تأويلا. The meaning of this verse is, O you who have believed, obey Allah and obey the Messenger and those in authority among you. And if you disagree over anything, refer it to Allah and the Messenger. If you should believe in Allah and the last day, that is the best way and the best result. So here you see the words وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ. This is often interpreted to mean the scholars. But the literal translation says those in authority among you. So are the scholars in authority among the believers? To understand this, we'll have to examine these specific words وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ. Now, when we look at the different occurrences of this word ulil, we can see some interesting meanings that are used in the Quran. We can see that these are speaking about men of those of great military might, the possessors of great strength, those of understanding, those of determination, again possessors of military might. So from this we can understand that the words ulil used in this particular verse is referring to someone in charge or someone in command of the believers. As you can see, this word has not been used with reference to men of religious knowledge. All you can see is that the word has been used to refer to men who have great military might, strength and understanding and are in charge of the believers. Now when we look at the different occurrences of the word Amri in the Quran also, we can see that it is primarily used for meanings like decision, determination, command, authority, command, etc. So this is clearly referring to Ulul Amri, clearly it's referring to people who possess great strength, military might, understanding, and they are in charge of the matters and they take decisions, etc. These words do not refer to scholars or people with religious knowledge. Other verse where we see the word Ulil Amri is in Surah 4 verse 83. The verse reads, وَإِذَا جَاءَهُمْ أَمْرٌ مِنَ الْأَمْنِ أَوِ الْخَوْفِ أَذَاعُوا وَلَوْ رَدُّوهُ إِلَى رَسُولِ وَإِلَى أُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْهُمْ. The meaning is, and when there comes to them information about public security or fear, they spread it around. But if they had referred it back to the messenger or those of authority among them. So as you can see, this verse specifically tells us that Ulil Amr are those who are in charge of security of the community. And this is the reason why God is telling the believers that they had to refer such matters to the messenger and those of authority among them. This clearly tells us that Ulil Amri are not religious scholars, because obviously religious scholars are not in charge of the security of the believing community. The people who are in charge of the security of the community are usually military commanders. So clearly this verse is speaking about, or the Ulil Amr mentioned in the Quran are referring to military commanders among the believers, and the believers are supposed to obey them. Unfortunately, these words are misinterpreted to mean or advocate a blind obedience to the scholarship. And when we examine the Quran, we can clearly see that the Quran does not permit a believer to blindly follow the religious opinions of any scholar or any individual. The Quran actually condemns the blind following of religious scholars. We see this in Surah 9, verse 31, where God says, اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم أربابا من دون الله, means they have taken their scholars and monks as lords besides Allah. So this clearly tells us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forbidden us from taking our scholars and monks as lords, as Arbab, besides Allah. We are not to blindly follow them. We are not to take their opinion as equal to the words of Allah. We have to always take the truth from the scripture of God and not from the mere opinions, fatwas as they call it, of religious scholars. Unfortunately, this is not what we see in the larger Islamic community. Opinions of many scholars are often taken over the Kitab of Allah, over the Book of Allah. And this is the classical example of taking them as lords besides Allah. Another verse that is often misinterpreted to advocate the blind following of scholars is in Surah 16, verse 43, which says, "We did not send before you except men whom we inspired. Ask those who know the scripture if you do not know." So here we can see that the Prophet is being told to ask those who know the scripture if he did not know. Now clearly this verse is asking the messenger to verify what is being revealed to him, what is being inspired to him, with those who have already received the scripture, those who know about the scripture. It is not telling the messenger to blindly follow whatever they say. It becomes more clear that the messenger is not being asked to follow the opinions of those who know the previous scripture blindly, because in Surah 5, verse 48, God says, "Then we reveal to you the scripture truthfully, confirming previous scriptures and superseding them. You shall rule among them in accordance with God's revelations, and do not follow their wishes if they differ from the truth that came to you." So clearly the messenger was told not to follow their wishes if it differed from the scripture that was revealed to him. With this, I hope sufficient evidence have been provided in this video to know the correct understanding of the words Ulil Amr, and also to understand that the Quran does not advocate the blind following of scholars or religious leaders. It is the sole responsibility of each individual to study the scripture and find the truth by themselves. They will be held responsible for their own decisions on the day of judgment. Inshallah, I hope all of you enjoyed this video. Please do not forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much for watching. Assalamu alaikum.